readers, it's Lori, and I'm happy that you're here joining me today for book chat and maybe a little life chat. I haven't done one of these for a bit, and I have been thinking about it for a while. And I have a list of things that are bookish mostly, and a couple of things that are life-ish. And so let's get started. I am fresh off of the BookTube Besties retreat for 2025. I have been attending this retreat that's hosted typically by Sarah at Sarah's Nightstand, Lindsay at Lindsay's Little Library, Krista at Books and Jams, and Amanda at what used to be the Curly Reader, and now I think it's on the middle shelf. Those channels are great ones for you to watch. They've been doing this for a long time. However, this year Amanda couldn't join us, and so we were joined by Jen, whose channel is The Bookish Blonde. And these retreats are so much fun. They start on a Friday night for a few hours, and then they're mostly the day on Saturday, 8 to 8, I think, or 7 to 7 on my end. But 12 hours of being with bookish friends, of reading, and there's always a theme. This year's theme was self-care, and that was perfect for, I think, all of us that attended. It was really lovely. I recommend that you take a look at those channels, and they do announce the retreat each year. I don't know when the next one will be, but I hope that I get in. They only allow, I think it's 100 people at one time. There is a wait list after, but typically I think I've attended 3 of them, and I've seen it pretty quickly because I watch I watch their channels a lot. So it's easy for me to find it. But I really had a good time. A lot of my bookish friends and subscribers were there. That made me very happy as well. And I just had a really lovely weekend. We did a craft, which was really fun. I should have brought it to show you. It was a napkin bookmark. So you use Mod Podge. I usually call that Mod Podge, but my daughter fusses because she says it's Mod Podge, Mom. It is, but I used Mod Podge with it. I got a fresh container of it, so it also inspired me to think about creating more because I keep saying that I want to, and I haven't. So there's that. But I had a great time, and I'm so grateful to all of them for their time and their efforts to plan this ahead. They also give out a bunch of great recommendations. So I wrote down a list of those. And the other challenge that I have had this month, and it's a good challenge for me, is I'm in a no buy August status, if you didn't know. And so I had talked to my book club friends about it, and they said, well, I think we should be able to buy one book during the retreat because there will be recommendations. And so I agreed that that was a good possibility if I decided to do that. It was a sort of a, exemption from no buy August on one day. However, I did not order a new book, so I am still on a no buy. I have pre-ordered a book for next February. It is The Astral Library, I think is what it's called, by Kate Quinn. But I'm not going to get that or pay for it until next February. So that one in my mind did not count toward my no buy August. But I have been doing really, really well. Now, you might be asking, are you reading your backlist more this month? And so far, no, that is not happening. But part of it is because I have had some obligations commitments that I promised, not obligations, commitments that I promised to buddy read with a few people. And those were new releases, or at least released in 2025. And then I've had a couple of other things come up that met my ABC challenge that I talked about when I did my wrap up of reading goals for the year. So I'm reading Julie Tudor is Not a Psychopath at the moment. I am at odds with how to express my feelings about this book. So stay tuned for the wrap up because that one is very hard to describe. It's very interesting. But anyway, I'm reading that. I'm reading God of the Woods, which is a fairly new release as well. And then I'm also reading on my Kindle an ARC, called The One and Only Vivian Stone, which has already come out, I'm pretty sure, but I just was late getting to it, so I'm feeling a little bit bad about that. But I am mostly caught up on my other arcs, so it shouldn't be long before I finish this one. The One and Only Vivian Stone. I wanted to make sure I got that right. Yes. So that one came out in July, middle July, I think. There you go. That's what I'm currently reading, and that's sort of a wrap up on what I did this weekend. I did finish a book this weekend during the retreat, and it was a pretty good sized one. It will count toward my big book summer reads. And I was really happy that I got that much reading time and really dedicated that time to that book. So I feel really good. In that same vein, I have reached my book reading goal, Goodreads reading goal for the year. I had set it at 52, which is a book a week. And I had talked about this a couple times when I did the goal setting wrap ups, but I've met that goal, I'm happy to say. And I am I mean, I wasn't in a big hurry this year and I was trying to be more mindful of how I'm reading, but I usually exceed the 52 nowadays anyway. I didn't in the past, but I am happy that I met that goal. And so I'll just keep on going toward the other goals now for the rest of the year. I have some great plans already in the works for me and some possible readathons or reading challenges. And so there's so much available to us on BookTube. I'm so grateful for all of my subscribers here who are really friends and really are connecting with me all the time. And I just adore that. So it's been a good weekend. In that vein, my friend Kat at Kat's Novel Adventures has a Saturday morning event that she's been hosting. She also does sprints on Wednesday afternoons, but the Saturday morning event has really helped me. I think I've mentioned it before, but I just want to mention it again. It's a momentum time and it is geared toward helping you set some intentions for the week, but also for that moment in that time. And then you hopefully work on those intentions and then you report back. So you have some accountability buddies with those of us who are helping Kat as co-hosts, which I'm so honored and privileged to have been chosen to do, but also all of the people that you meet that show up for this momentum event. And it's been so much fun. We've been doing it now for I think 20 some, I know 20 some sessions, maybe 25, maybe even more, but it happens every Saturday. I can't go every Saturday. I didn't go this last week, but we didn't have it actually because Kat was with me in the book club retreat or the besties retreat. But every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Central, and then what would that be? 7? No, 6 a.m. in the West Coast. Yeah, it's early. The purpose of Momentum is for us to just chat about the things that we want to get done and have some support both inside the event on the live show. And we have time that we go off and work on whatever we've intended to work on that day. So you get some time. It's about an hour for you to really work hard on whatever it is you want to move forward that day. And then you set intentions for the next week. And I have gotten so much done as a result of that momentum group. I can't even tell you. It's co-hosted by, and again, this is Kat at Kat's Novel Adventures on BookTube. It's myself, Lee at Dark Creation. I'll put these in the description section. Liz, who I don't think has a YouTube channel, but she's a great person to be with us, super reader. And then Jen at Literary Love 123, also on BookTube, a great channel too. I really highly recommend that if you're not, you follow these ladies because they're incredible. But I have really been loving momentum these days and like I said, getting things done, which has really been helpful to me. Staying on track with some other goals. And one of those goals to get done was to scan all of my physical books. Yes, I have scanned all of my physical books. And I can report to you that I have 1,138 books on my shelf. Yes, that is a lot. Yes, it seems overwhelming to me too. I have been purging. I will continue to purge because I think it's necessary. But also, I want to continue to read this backlist. Now, some of these aren't backlist, obviously. I've been buying books this whole year, but it really is time for me to take a look at these, decide if these are books I do plan to read. I mean, I've been trying to do that now and again, but I think my decision changes if I pause a little bit and go back and think about whether I really want to read this book in September, even though I may have wanted to do that in August. But it's been really good to have a grounding around that. I don't yet have a tally of how many of those books on my shelf have been read. A good number of them have, but a good number of them have not. So that's kind of my next goal, is to try to keep some sort of an inventory of where I'm at with to read and read. Now, I will say, if you're interested, I used a free app, at least it's free so far, that is Libib, Libib, and this one is a scanner. You can enter them manually, and some of them I did have to enter manually because they didn't have any barcode anywhere that I could find. Also, FYI, if you decide to scan your books, the older paperbacks, there is a barcode on the back, but it is not scannable for some reason. But there's also a barcode in the front when you open it up. It's crazy, but the same barcode, but it scans. I don't know what the issue was back in the day, but that was something that kind of surprised me. So I just want to make sure that you're aware of that too. But I'm really happy that I have done that. Now, the next step would be to look at audio and ebooks. I could enter audiobooks fairly quickly, I would think, because I don't have as many of those. But ebooks, between my Kindle and my Nook, there are a number of them. So I would probably have to manually enter all those, and I'm trying to figure out if there's a way not to have to do that. And then someone told me the other day in the reading retreat that you can actually export that list of books from Libib onto a spreadsheet. I haven't figured out how yet, but that was a delightful thing to find out. So that would make me even happier. And then I could manually add in the ebooks and the audiobooks on that spreadsheet. It would take a while, but I would like a fearless inventory of and I'm not mocking the AA, language, because that's very important, but I would like a fearless inventory of these books. And I do feel a bit like a book addict at times, and I would like to not feel that way. I would like to feel like a person who's in control of her TBR and who uses her library more. So that's the goal. In fact, I have hopefully a video coming up that will feature some library books that I have gotten recently, and I'm going to try a chapter and see which ones I want to move forward with. So stay tuned for that. My NetGalley score is currently 41%, so I feel better about that. I read 2 arcs. Was it this month I read 2 arcs or just one? I only read one this month, but I rated the 2 of them and this month, and I was delighted to find that I've moved up into the 40s and not the 30s. So that made me happy. Barnes and Noble Book Talks. They have a book talk at least once a month with an author, typically an author who has a new release coming out or has recently had a new release. And I try to attend those when, obviously, when they're books that I'm interested in reading or authors that I follow and really like. And they are really well done. So they used to be hosted by someone on the Barnes and Noble corporate team, I'm sure, but now they're actually hosted by another author. So the one I attended last week was Mississippi Blue 42 by Eli Craner. So he was the featured author. And S.A. Cosby was the person who interviewed him. Now, you can watch these that have already been recorded and people have already attended on the Barnes & Noble site, but I watched it live. I don't always, but I did this time. I will say that the audio for S.A. Cosby was really tricky. He was having a lot of trouble with his Zoom account or whatever he was using, and he was breaking up, and his internet was just really spotty. So it got better, but at times it was still hard. I think Eli could hear him, but there were times where we just couldn't. But we got the gist, I think, by the fact that Eli answered the questions. I was really surprised by how much I really liked this author. And of course, I love S.A. Cosby. This author wrote this book about Mississippi, obviously, Mississippi College Ball, and I talked about it as a most anticipated read, which, was just a delight to see this guy come up on this book talk. And it made me want to read it even more. I was interested in it before, but now I really am, because I think the description of it is great, but I think it has maybe a little bit more to it, maybe a little humor. I'm really kind of curious about that, but we'll see. But I think I'm going to hopefully get that from my library, because I suspect they will order it because it's about Mississippi. He's written some other books before as well, and he has set them in different states, mostly the South. He is a man who's from the South. He's lived in many other places. So it was just fascinating. And I've seen great interviews throughout. I recently watched one with Sherry LaPina, which I think I mentioned when I talked about her in my "And Then They Were Murdered" video. And I really, really enjoy these. So if you haven't already, I would encourage you to take a look at those, because they give you kind of a great idea about whether or not you're going to like a book, and more, knowledge about the author, which I'm always curious about. How do people start writing, and, what's their background? And so, yeah, it was great fun. It really was. So a new podcaster that I found, Caroline Crampton, has created a podcast called Shedunnit, and I found it by accident the other day when I was looking for different things on the podcast app that I have. She started this in 2018, so there's a lot of back episodes on this. But what she did was she looked at and wanted to talk about, and apparently always has talked about, the golden age, really, of mystery writers, and in particular women, but not all women. So we're talking Agatha Christie, Dorothy L. Sayers. We're talking about Josephine Tay, and then again, some men as well. She's included lots of male authors, but really those kinds of between around the wartime and in the 20s and 30s, and obviously on for many of them because they wrote for long, long periods of time. But just how those mysteries became these classic detective stories that we all know and love, and that have been now sort of cloned a little bit, but with unique people, unique authors over the years. So it's kept this alive all this time. But really, the going back to the golden age to me is a really fun thing to do. So Shedunnit by Caroline Crampton is a new podcast that I plan to begin this week. I think it's been sitting in my shows for a bit. I really do want to start from the beginning. I think at least get a sort of a feel for how she started, and then maybe go on to more current ones. I don't know, or just maybe pick and choose the ones that I'm most interested in. It's possible, but I just wanted you to know about it, those of you who love podcasters, because they just bring us so much bookish content. And of course, they bring us books that we haven't heard of that we want to read. So yes, that will happen too. Another thing I wanted to share with you is that my friends Krista at Books and Jams and Sarah at Sarah's Nightstand are again hosting Series September Challenge. And the goal of Series September is to read series. And I have not done as well with that this year so far. This would also help me to get back to my backlist predominantly in the month of September. I do plan to participate in this. There's not a lot of complexity to this. We were talking about in the retreat the other day some of the complexity of some readathons, and that does not usually work for me. This one is super easy. There's a bingo board, and you just pick the books on your shelves that are series related that you want to, continue or you want to catch up on. So I have been creating a TBR for myself in my head. So far, I started this morning because September will be here before you know it. And I'm super excited that they're doing this again because, like I said, there's not a lot of effort that you have to make except to read books from a series. And so there's lots of ways I think I can, get caught up or start a new series that I have wanted to start. I encourage you to take a look at that. Both of them will have videos, and I think there will be some sprints in September as well. And I always enjoy their sprints. So this should be really, really fun. I think that's all of my bookish related things, although I could think of something else, I'm sure, but I did want to share with you a couple of life related things. This is silly, but I'm just so excited about it. This is Stella. Yes, I know. Stella's probably going to sit with my other sloth behind us, but Stella is from Pop Shelf. We have a Pop Shelf store here, but they sell different things. And this is one of the Thai beanie bellies, which is so fun. But the reasons I have to have Stella are that, first of all, I love sloths, as you know. We have an ice cream shop not far from where we live now that we go to called Chill Sloth, and they have a live sloth in the ice cream shop, and I could just watch that sloth for hours if I was allowed to do that. But Stella was also my aunt's name, my mom's sister, so it seemed like Stella and I were meant to be together. So I grabbed her, and I'm happy that I did. So she's going to probably be in here with me, or maybe she'll be in the living room or on the bookshelves. I don't know, but she's just so cute. We also had a birthday party for our little Lyra Lou. Lyra Claire is really her name, but she turned 1, as I may have mentioned. And so we had a beautiful birthday party for her, and that was so much fun. And the theme of that birthday party was one for the books. And so we had food that correlated to books. I had made green deviled eggs for green eggs and ham. And we had I'll see if I can show some photos of what we had there. It was just absolutely so much fun. And even though she was feeling a little under the weather that day, she had a tooth coming in and she had a little bit of a fever. I think she really enjoyed herself, and she got so many great books as gifts, and clothes too, but the books she got were incredible. We got her golden books about Elphaba and Glinda, because that's a favorite of ours, but also of her mom's. And then we also got her a Gilmore Girls board book, because that's a show that we watched together, our family. And so I don't think my son watched it, but I just wanted to get her something that kind of her and her mom also were fans of. It was just a lovely day. And we got her some other stuff too, but I won't go into all of that. I'm dressed up today because I have an interview later today. I may or may not get this. It's not a paid position, but it's a board position on a nonprofit board, which would bring me back a little bit to my nonprofit roots. So I'm really excited about this. I've already interviewed with one of the board members, and then today they're having a meeting, an annual meeting that they get together physically for. But it was I'm not saying I've gotten it for sure, but I have a second interview today, and they wanted me to join them via Zoom, so I'll be doing that. So that's kind of why I dressed up a little bit more. But I dress up sometimes when I do these videos, but I'm really excited about it. So it's a nonprofit for coaches to receive coaching, which I think is really, really important. And I think they coach other executives as well. And they're, doing this at a sometimes pro bono, I think, but very low rate for some people who are interested in this. And it just sounds like something that would be great for me. And I have served on several nonprofit boards in my life. Of course, I worked for nonprofits for a long, long time. And I do love that that work. I really, really do. And I love supporting nonprofits whenever I can. So this seemed like a good idea. My friend posted it on LinkedIn. She's on the board. And so she and I talked about it first, so I could kind of understand what it's like and what the expectations are for time and support. And it sounds like something that would be right up my street. We shall see if I'm up their street. I think that is all that I had listed to chat with you about. If you have any comments or questions or anything you want to share in the comments below, I would love to see them. I always appreciate all the things that you write. I am still behind on comments, I have to say. I'm behind on a lot of things, but I'm trying to catch up little by little. And so once I get something done, I feel better. And I'm actually about to do my goals for the week this week and make sure my calendar's updated. And then momentum will be Saturday. So it's very possible that I could choose comments on Saturday for me to catch up with. We shall see, but I do try to read them and I do try really, really hard to respond at some point. I am human, but I'll do my best to get this done. I was saying last Saturday at the retreat in the chats, and then, of course, my friends in my book club, we talk about this all the time. It is just such a special thing to meet all these people virtually all over the United States and far beyond in some cases, and to just feel like we're connected. And I think that this is one of the best things I've ever done. It just brings me so much joy. I know I've said this before, but I care so much about all of you. And I love that you're here, and I hope that you'll stick around. And if you're new, I would love it if you would subscribe if this is a community you think you'd like to belong to. These are great folks. I can definitely say that for sure. If you don't want to comment, you can put a sloth in the emojis below or your favorite animal, because I think there's a lot of animals in that space as well. So that would be fun. Let me know what your bookish life has been lately if you want to in the comments below. It's always fun to see how people are coping with, this phase of the year and where we're at with goals and things and new releases and overwhelm and all that stuff. So thanks so much for joining me. Thanks for being a subscriber or a watcher or listener. And as always, happy reading. Bye.